Okay, this is Farah, and Farah is wearing her farm shirt today. And she is going to do today's Fanciful Farming lesson about raising mealworms. So this is our little mini mealworm raising kit that we have set up right here to show today. And it's very easy to do. We only have 3 drawers in this, and she's opening up the bottom drawer. So what is in our bottom drawer?
They're they're growing.
So this is where the juveniles are kept, the babies. Mealworms are actually the juvenile stage of the darkling beetles. Some people may not realize that, but these are actually the babies. So these guys, their only job is to what, Farah?
Grow right now?
Yep, eat and grow. So what we feed them, we try to feed them very healthy, and we keep them in a really clean box right here. What they're eating is rolled oats, and we also feed them things like cornmeal. Sometimes people also, if they're going to exclusively feed them to their chickens, they can even feed them chicken feed. So, because they will also eat that too. They basically will eat anything that's a dry grain. You don't want to put anything wet in there because it's going to mold.
Yeah, and
So what's the potato in there for?
for them to drink out of.
We cut potatoes in half, and this one's all sticky. And they actually will get underneath here, and sometimes they even burrow holes like that in there. And they use this to drink from. We use potatoes because potatoes tend to not mold as easily because you don't want a lot of moisture in there. You can use any fruit or vegetable that does have any moisture in it. Like strawberries are probably going to be too likely to mold. I tried sweet potatoes once too, and they molded actually really quickly. So we just found that plain old brown potatoes work the best. And when there's a lot of them in there, they go through potatoes pretty quickly. But we, what did we do with most of our mealworms? We dehydrate them, and we feed them to the chickens and the peacocks because they're a good source. Well, they're a good treat, but they're a good source of protein for them, and they really enjoy them. People can actually eat them too. What do they taste like?
I don't know. They taste like nothing to me.
So they taste like nothingness.
They taste like a potato chip with no salt.
Okay, so they taste kind of potatoy with no salt, I guess, is what the critic has said. So this is our bottom drawer where the babies are. So every once in a while, as long as there's no beetles in here, we can sift this out because, actually, let's do the next drawer because this one actually is getting ready to be cleaned. So this one doesn't have very many mealworms in it because we harvested most of them for the chickens. So all of this right here, we keep digging down. That looks chewed up. Yeah, that's their shed skin. I can't focus on it. They do shed their skin just like a caterpillar until they get to about that size right here. This one's almost matured. So they chew up this, and this is basically their waste. It's not gross or anything like that. And it's really good fertilizer. So we can actually sift it out to make sure we get all the worms out, or mealworms, and put it in the garden. So it's really good for our garden as well. They have a little potato in here. And this one's getting ready to get cleaned. You can see there's lots of dead or shed skin and stuff like that on the top. So then in our top, so open this up, Farah, and explain what's inside this little dish. And there is a little air hole on the top.
Right there.
So what do we have inside this
We have
container?
the pupas.
Yeah, so these are the pupas. So we do let some of our mealworms, or sometimes they sneak and end up turning into a pupa. Chickens can eat the pupas, but we tend to just keep the mealworms. The pupas hold a lot of moisture, so they're not really good for dehydrating. But this is their metamorphosis metamorphosis stage where they're going through changes to become a beetle. When they're getting ready to turn into a beetle, they turn kind of a darkish brown, and you start to see like the outline of like the legs. So show them how you can touch one, and they actually wiggle. Show them how they move. So sometimes when you touch them, they'll wiggle their tails and hop around. Let me see if I can't get them out because I only have one hand.
Want me to try?
Anyways, sometimes they'll jump around in there too. If we keep them separated because...
That one kind of moves.
Are they moving? Well, after a while, they don't move once they're really starting to go through their changes. Oh, see, that one's moving because I'm pushing on his belly. There you go. After we find them in the container, we separate them because if the mealworms or the beetles find them, they can sometimes eat them. So, and this is the matured bunch right here. So this is where they reproduce. And they're just in this little container. I have never had any of them escape. They do have wings, but none of them have ever flown either. And they don't bite or anything like that. And the chickens will eat these guys too. They eat them quite happily as like a little treat. But these are the darkling beetles. So their job is to what?
To
make
babies.
Yes, make babies. So in here, their sole purpose is just to eat and reproduce. And they have potatoes in here too. And they have oats in here too because they eat the same. And I don't know if I can get it focused, but if you look really closely, you can see wiggling going on. Those are all teeny tiny baby mealworms that are growing. And once they get big enough, then we'll move them to the other compartments where they can continue to grow. So that's our little setup. You can have big setups, little setups, depending on how many mealworms. We started out with, I think, around 1,500 mealworms. And some of them became beetles. Some of them have already been eaten. And some of them are freeze-dried. So there's our little setup. Oh, right there, look, girls, nature, they're reproducing. That's X-rated. We can't look at that. So, and then let's see if we can see anything. See, they actually will make these little holes in there, and they'll actually lay eggs in there too. So we have to be careful when we change the potatoes out. So that's our setup. Do you have anything else you want to add that you've learned from this?
I don't know. Why are you always asking me the questions?
Because you wanted to do the video, so. What have you learned? You've learned about metamorphosis and that they taste like potatoes.
Yeah.
So we just keep this little container right in here.
Like you should just like put.
Because once they become beetles, I just toss them into here afterwards.
Like get them.
And I keep a top on it so that the beetles don't
like
get in.
Probably get one of them down there and just get some salt and just dump it on there.
So she says that they're probably best if you salt them and eat them first. I've heard that dipping them in chocolate is good too. Maybe we'll offer that as a treat at the farmer's market, like chocolate covered mealworms.
Or a sucker.
Or or you can put them in a sucker. So this is our little setup. You can do all different kinds, but this is what's really worked for us. So that's all for today.